Show me what you got!
With the cracking of thunder, a large face appeared in the quickly formed clouds above the town. The face identified itself as the Watcher, Andron. He announced that mankind had prospered, but had become complacent. In short, he demanded to be entertained and promised a substantial reward to anyone who could rise to his challenge. As his face disappeared, great towers began rising all over the continent. The nearest one was just a short distance from New Ashford. As Andron faded from view, Lucio couldn't help but feel at least the slightest tinge of annoyance that Andron couldn't have just caused that great diversion about 15 minutes earlier. Nevertheless, that reward seemed promising, and even more importantly, Lucio needed to get out of New Ashford as it was getting a bit too hot there for him. Somewhere else in town, Electra watched Andron's announcement with great ambivalence. Although she didn't have any pressing needs that a reward would settle, she at least figured that it could be worth a shot. Regardless, this town was kind of played, and she was keen to move on to somewhere cooler. For both our adventurers, the clearest path out of town was through the Adventurers Club, where they would have their second meeting. At the Adventurers Club, to get adventurers passes, which would allow them to leave town to head north to the towers, Electra and Lucio wound up running into each other once again. Despite his attempt to hide his appearance by shaving, Electra recognized Mr. Wife and Two Kids right away. In exchange for keeping his secrets, not by killing him, by actually keeping them a secret, Lucio paid for both of their adventurers passes. To keep up his disguise, Lucio decided that he would go by Frederick Douglass while in town, and that's the last time we'll ever remember to use that name. As they walked across town, Electra and Lucio saw Timmy getting roughed up by Randall yet again. In the ensuing scuffle, Electra critically struck Randall, causing a mortal wound. As he lay on the ground bleeding out, Electra scooped up the marbles and put them into Timmy's pockets, and together, the three fled the scene. Looking to leave the town, the party stopped to do some final errands before they said goodbye to New Ashford for, presumably, forever. Lucio ran back to the bakery to grab toys of Duke and Gretchen to remember them by. Meanwhile, Electra visited Timmy's mom to ask her, and by ask her I mean tell her, that Timmy was coming on an adventure with her. She was reluctant at first, but in the end, she was too doped up to realize what was happening. As the party traveled along the road towards the tower, they began to get better acquainted with one another. Lucio explained what had happened to his wife and children, and how he hoped to use his wish from Andron to resurrect them. Electra talked about her wandering past, and expressed an interest in helping Lucio get the most value from his wish as a reward for completing the tower. Timmy proved to be pretty delightfully one-dimensional, but centered around marbles. As they grew closer, they slept closer too. Fortunately for Lucio, his devotion to his wife and children, even though they were dead, prevented anything from happening. Continuing along the road, the party was given a strange medallion following an exchange with some traveling merchants. Following the medallion's vibrations, the party was eventually brought to a temple on a hill. Inside, the party experienced their first real test of combat as they came face to face with some stone eagles. Thanks to some clever marble throwing, expert baker's paddle wielding, and competent slashing, the party was victorious. Upon achieving victory, the light from two statues converged, taking the form of an angelic creature. She identified herself as Ufiara, the Watcher of the Hills. As a thanks for restoring some of her domain, she bestowed her gifts upon the party. The party continued uninterrupted until they reached the tower. Around the tower, a large camp had been hastily arranged with a vast array of tents. The party found some open space and set up a tent of their own, from which they could sell baked goods. As they were setting up, the herbologist named Helga from the tent across the way came in to tell the party about the area. There were many guards, but all of the guards were from Aachen. She also mentioned having seen Ricard in town, which intrigued Electra. Before Helga left the tent, Lucio used his patented art of the deal on her to secure a few potions in exchange for some bread. She agreed, but said that the party would have to find the ingredients first. The ingredients included wenswort, a moist fungus that grows at the base of the markswood trees, and some bark from the markswood trees, and oxstaff, a long, slender grass that resembles manhood. Additionally, the party would need to get brain shroomers, which were a small and sentient race of mushrooms living in the forests nearby. Additionally, from Helga, the party learned that Habon, the son of Hayberth, the evil counselor in charge of New Ashford, was in the camp. As Timmy and Lucio engaged the Aachen guards in a debate over how much guarding of Aachen an Aachen-guard could guard, Electra quietly slipped away to see what was inside Habon's tent. Electra, inside Habon's tent, found Habon and made very unsatisfying love to him. Then, emptied the vial of poison she had stolen from her one-time lover Rhea in the first session into Habon's wine while he fell asleep. Meanwhile, Lucio worked his magic around the camp, advertising his business to any who would listen. And, thanks to his alter ego, Juicio, purveyor of fine juices, he was able to expand the scope of his business in the camp. As the party reunited, they ran across Rhea, the person from whom Electra had stolen the vial of poison. She was quite unhappy to see the party, but she let it slip that the changing of the guards would likely be the best time for the party to slip into the heavily Aachen-guarded tower. Interested in knowing what was in the vial, Electra had a fight with Rhea, while Lucio donned his new disguise, Juicio, to distract the guards. Unfortunately, the conversation did not go well, and Rhea had to be put down, because Electra was bad at problem-solving. After successfully avoiding arrest for their murder of a criminal, the party went to sleep until the morning, when they departed to acquire ingredients for Helga. As they were gathering wenswort and markswood, the party noticed some strange mushrooms attached to a dead deer. As the party investigated the deer, a mushroom walked out from the woods, gave the party a terrified look, and ran away. The party had a quick debate about what the hell that was all about, and then decided to follow after it, only to be reminded that 5 minutes had passed while they were arguing, and they had missed their window. So, the party shrugged and got back on with their quest. The next morning, the party got an early start to sneak into the tower while the Aachen guards were slow to change, and they managed to get inside. Inside, the party was greeted by an apparition of Andron, who had them sign a blood contract before proceeding. In the first room, the party had to derive a safe route over a spike pit covered by loose tiles. With Electra bravely manning the reset button, Lucio tried, and tried again to find the right path, until eventually he succeeded. In the next challenge room, the party was presented with 3 paths, so the party did what any sensible adventuring group would do, and split up. In Lucio's path, he saw Duke. As he ran to embrace Duke once again, he dissolved and faded away from Lucio's embrace. Meanwhile, Electra faced down Rhea in her path. Rhea ran at Electra and began attacking her. Electra, thinking that it was a test, did not defend herself. Unfortunately, she should have defended herself because she died. But at least she died with the moral high ground. As Lucio and Timmy emerged from their paths, they realized Electra was not there. They went into her path to find her, but only found her sweet, warm corpse laying there. Lucio knew what he had to do before restoring her life. For, in the immortal words of Lucio, it's not cheating if it's a dead body. Timmy, forced to watch the entire 2-minute ordeal, was scarred for life. Lucio sat Timmy down and tried to explain to him what had just happened. But Timmy was not having any of it.
Pussy lips, pussy lips, pussy lips.
No, Timmy, stop that.
I can't help it. My mind is an impressionable sponge.
After eventually remembering that there was a reset button, Lucio hit it, and the party proceeded back through the tower more successfully this time. In the final room, Andron offered any reasonable gift to the party members. Electra wished for a +5 flaming greatsword of doom, and she received it. But it cut her in half, and she died. So anyway, the party wound up at the treasure room again. After passing the treasure room, the party passed into the final challenge that involved dodging a rolling boulder, and they actually managed not to die on this one. In the final room, Andron appeared and rewarded the party with increased strength, congratulating them on the good show they put on in the tower. After all that was done, a door clicked open and the party left through it. It took them out to the base of the tower, where they were promptly swarmed by guards.